Hi, everyone. I'm super excited to interview Tammy Johnston today. She's my dear guest all the way from Canada. And I love to interview people from different time zones. So this is going to be a really fun interview because I love chatting with Tammy, and I just have to start this interview. Otherwise, we're just going to go on all day. But I think today is going to be a really great podcast because I know during this current pandemic and changes in our economy, a lot of people are looking at other ways to make money or create multiple streams of income. And not surprisingly, many people look at starting their own business or taking their skills and experience into bringing it in terms of making a product or service into the world. So a lot of people are thinking, can they dabble? Can they transition? So I think Tammy's story and expertise can really help a lot of small business owner or want to start people to have a think and maybe take some notes about this. So I really hope this is going to be a useful interview for a lot of those people, but also it's going to be a lot of fun. So a little short introduction. Tammy is a speaker, educator, business owner, and author. She specialized in helping small business owners and solopreneurs since 2003. And she's a noted small business expert on the stage, in the classroom, and in the media outlets for better part almost 2 decades. So she definitely got experience. And also she when she started out, she has small kids, actually babies. So for those who are moms like myself, we're also going to learn from Tammy in terms of how to balance it all. I mean, balance is a kind of like a dream state, but how to do it all like without going insane, I think. But I also think this is going to be a great opportunity for existing small business owner who want to turn things around or speed up your journey for success, or for brand new people who want to really start off on the right foot. So I think it's going to be super fun. So without further ado, welcome to my show, Tammy.
Well, thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this all week.
Oh no, that's so nice, so kind of you to say. Okay, now I always like to start with the origin story. And as far as I know, you started out start your own business when you just found out you're pregnant or something along those lines. So basically it was kind of the crazy time with hormones, or when you have a new baby, sleep deprived.
I got fired from my job, which is actually a wonderful thing because I was hating it. I was looking for another job. And if I hadn't been fired, I would have just gone into another job. It would have been better pay and all of that stuff, but it would have been just another job. But when I got fired, it was a release, and I was able to go, you know what? I'm done with this. And I started my business, and then I got pregnant. And then I got pregnant. So it was like a whole whirlwind. I'm so crazy. I took 30 hours of mat leave. I worked up until noon of the day that I had my daughter. I missed teaching one class that night because I was in labor. She was seeing clients with me before she was 2 days old. She taught that missed class with me the following week. And she did her first trade show with me when she was 2 weeks old.
Oh my gosh. That's really really something, because I have two babies, so I know the whole your body and your emotion, everything, it's like up here. But actually, funny enough, I remember when I was actually, after I gave birth, natural birth, on the way home I was texting, telling some of my clients, look, actually I just gave birth, so I may have to push our appointment tomorrow. But I remember, actually, because of adrenaline, I guess, the same day I was able to, have my head still and say, look, I can't do the call tomorrow, so we have to reschedule, because I kind of just went to the hospital. I mean, I didn't expect it to be happening so fast, but anyway. It was quite a crazy time. So we're going to unpack this a little bit in terms of the beginning, the origin story. But I know that you talked about, instead of falling into it, if you in a different universe, we say that, but if you given a chance again, you probably would do exactly the same. But let's just say you're gonna plan ahead this time for the transition. or, you know, the other good example, you tell your younger self how to do it better, right? So what are the top do's and don'ts, or must have, or nice to have? Like, how are you going to prepare your younger Tammy?
Well, if I could have gone back and talked to myself a year before I got fired, the first thing I would have done is I would have started doing the preparation to go self-employed, to be setting up my own business. And that's a big thing on what I do with my clients now. I'm going, because there's so many people that are in jobs that they don't want to do. They are not happy where they are. They want to get out of their industry. They do something different. Where I am, oil and gas is absolutely huge, and that industry has been absolutely decimated, and it's never coming back the way it was here. So I have a lot of clients that they have spent 10, 20, 30 years in oil and gas. And even if they have the opportunity to go back, they don't want, I don't want to. I want to be doing something completely different. I'm tired of all of that. So how do I start my business? And I would, like I said, I would go back, if I could talk to myself a year before I was fired or decided to leave my job or whatever it was, I would have started putting the pieces in place financially at home better, because there's things that can be done that make things an awful. Banks love employees with their regular steady paycheck. They do not anywhere. They do not like self-employed people. They do not like small business owners. It doesn't matter how many times they tell you that on their TV and radio commercials, unless you can prove to them beyond a shadow of a doubt that you absolutely do not need them, they don't want you as a client. But as an employee, there's things that you could be doing to be getting your finances set up a bit more. I would have started putting together my marketing so that when I was ready to go, it was ready to go. I would have started creating, because one of the things that I did, because my original background is financial services. I've been in financial services for close to 3 decades. And so I went into sales full time. And one of the things that I did is I created a personal financial planning course, 1 day intensive, all the things you need to know about money, but I guarantee you don't. I would have started building that ahead of time rather than taking the 3 months it took me after I started my business to put that together, because that was the #1 marketing thing that I've done. And it has made me a lot of money, a lot of very good lifetime friend clients because of that. So if I could have started that beforehand, especially before I'm dealing with the pregnancy hormones and a newborn that fed 5 times a night. So I don't know how I survived on like no sleep and things like that. Stuff like that would have made my life an awful lot easier while still having that steady, safe paycheck. That it probably would have saved me about 2 to 3 years in my business.
Okay, so let's just pause here for a minute. When would you say, are you suggesting, say, for many people, they will have a signature program or signature product, whatever that is, the first main thing, you figure that out, you create it, you prepare the marketing for it. But are you suggesting people actually will launch while they're still working, or should they wait until
it depends on what the situation is. Some people can launch while they're still working. Some people can't. It depends very much on their situation. Where with my situation, where what I was doing and all of that stuff, I could not have launched my business until I properly launched. Where I work with a lot of people that will kind of test things out because it's completely different bits. So for example, had a client working one business, and he wanted to start a tea business. Well, there's no conflict of interest or anything there. So he started off doing, bringing those products in. So you have to be watching, because when you're talking about like business, there's only like one thing that's guaranteed. You're going to pay taxes. Everything else, it depends. You need to be asking yourself the right questions and working with the right people and having a proper advisory team to help you put the stuff together.
Yeah, it makes sense. So like, I understand a lot of people for example, like in your case, there may be non-compete issues, there may be, it's just not the right product or market. But some people, let's say you're starting the tea or, I don't know, aromatherapy, completely different. You can test the water, see whether your product or your offering is actually, people do need it. So that makes a lot of sense. But also time, because I know some people work in high jobs where they just have basically no time except maybe a couple hours in the morning and the weekend. So that's also really hard for some people. So as you said, depends on the situation, but prepare well in advance.
As much as possible.
But then how do they make that leap then? So I prepare, and then what if the situation is very lukewarm, as in you started selling some tea, but your tea is making a little bit of money, but not enough to flip and say, I can quit my corporate job and just get into full-time tea business. You have a little bit of income. This lukewarm can take many years. So how you help people to sort of speed up the transition or pivot then? I mean, sometimes universe does it, but
let's well, one of the first questions I ask is, okay, so if you're going to be jumping, you're going to be lunching and getting rid of the job, what financial resources do you have to survive until you start making proper money with your business? Because, so for example, if you're lucky and you have a spouse that's got a good job that can look after things, that's a very different situation than, okay, you're a single parent, you've got 3 kids that need to be fed and have a roof over their heads. So you need to be looking at that. And then the other thing is, okay, now you've freed up all that time because you've jumped and you don't have to worry about the high stress job and that anymore. Now you have the high stress business. How are you going to be investing and using your time? Because when you are going from an employee structure where somebody else is dictating and here's my schedule and this is what I work and stuff, and then you go to, okay, everything is totally and completely my choice. A lot of people are not prepared for that. So they end up wasting all sorts of time on tons of different things. So if you're going, okay, this is how I'm going to be spending my day and all of this stuff. Like one of the things I always talk about, one of my favorite things to talk about people is the lovely calendar. Like I go through, I've planned out my 2022 all on paper. So I lay it all out and I'm going, okay, how am I going? Like, what are my things that I'm trying to do? So for me, I have classes, I have speaking engagements that I have booked well in advance. If I'm going to be launching a new program or something, okay, when am I going to be launching it? What is it going to take me to get that program put together? And then even more importantly, what is it going to take me to market it? So a lot of people don't think about this stuff. They're all excited and I'm all for excitement, but I'm going, it literally comes down to what are your habits and how are you investing your time throughout the day? And one of the things that was a blessing for me, like I had a little bit of time before I had my daughter, but I had to get really, really focused because I had to work when she was having a nap or a little bit when my husband was home or I had a teeny bit of help. Because unfortunately, we don't have any family close to us or anything like that.
Just like us.
Just the 2 of us.
Yes, I know exactly. Is that the 2-hour nap?
Yep. And my daughter was breastfed. She wouldn't even take a bottle. Couldn't even give her a soother. She'd projectile vomit for you. So I'm going, I'd have to work in between feedings. And so it's like, you're not wasting time because you can't waste time. So you have to know what is it that I'm working on and not just, because a lot of people can be very efficient on things that shouldn't be worked on. It's, are you working on the important things? I don't care how pretty your filing cabinet is and how perfectly it's set up. And this is from a person who's an anal retentive organizational freak. But if you're not doing the stuff that's actually going to put client files in the filing cabinet, what's the point?
Yep. I love it. And that's lead to my next question, because I think personality is super important. So you are practical, efficient, no BS. I felt I'm pretty much the same. I do wonder sometimes in my mind.
We all do. We all do.
Now, so I think people like ourselves find it easier to strap ourselves tight and get going. And, I can tell from the way you describe your beginning, your origin story, that you will like work out really late and you just squeeze it on. But not everyone is like that, not the personality or the strength. So I know you love to talk about, you actually need help. You need to have an advisory team. You need to have other people. But most people, when they start out, especially solo entrepreneur, they want to do everything on their own because they think they, first of all, cannot justify the money. Second of all, they don't even know what they need. And actually, the biggest danger are people like you and me, I think, because we think we can do it all. Like some people are more like, I can't do this design thing, or I can't do this money thing. But we're like, oh, we can learn, we can do this. Actually, we are the people and actually a lot of entrepreneurs have this personality because that's why they want to start a business, right?
Yeah.
So how are you going to advise, say, new starter to say, even though you have these amazing abilities and you can learn it, or you have the energy and time, whatever, that's not how you're supposed to do this. So how are you going to, what you're going to advise them, and how you're going to convince them that it's not the way to go?
Well, one of the things, like if you want to look at sports, and I'm not a sports person, but find me any successful professional sports person or team that does not have a group of coaches for different skills. No, but it doesn't matter how brilliant or wonderful or amazing you are, your area of knowledge is this. And there is so much more. And especially in our very complicated world now, like there's just so many different things that we need to be learning about. And then how do we focus? So the first thing I help people do is figure out, okay, what are your strengths? Where are you actually good and things like that? And then where are your weaknesses? Because if you're not aware of those things, you're just going to crash faster. And then you need to be surrounding yourself with a mix and variety of people. So typically when we first start out in business, we're surrounded by our friends, and our family are typically employees. Like the group of friends that I had 20 years ago when I started my business, like we're still friends. A lot of them are clients and things like that, but I don't spend very much time with them anymore. And the group of friends that I have now, very, very different. Almost all of my friends and the people that I spend time with and socialize and that are all small business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, because life has changed so much and I need to be around in order to keep playing my best game and keep leveling up and leveling up and leveling up. I need to be around people that are playing the same game and that have different skills, and that I can share ideas with, and that I can listen to and find out what they're going through. And then I can figure out stuff like that. I have like, there's certain things that I'm super strong on. And there's things like, one of the things that I'm having to learn a lot now, because with being international and doing so much over the internet and social media, I'm having to learn all of this technical stuff. Like I've been using Zoom for about 4 years, but learning all of this stuff. And then, okay, how do you do the social media marketing? Because that's a new thing for me. I'm used to, like, I go out and speak and people come and talk to me. Well, that's very different than having to put your stuff out on Facebook and Instagram and things like that, and all the technical stuff and different marketing. So I need to surround myself with other people with different skill sets and different ways of looking at things. And one of the biggest problems that a lot of solopreneurs and stuff have when they start, and this is why they try to do everything on their own, and I did it myself. I learned how to create websites and things like that because I'm going, I need a website. I do not have the money to pay somebody else to do it. So I learned how to create one in front page. And I've been through like 14 different like website updates and changes and stuff over the years. But they think that they have to pay for everything with money. So they're going, I have a very limited budget. How do I do this? Well, you don't have to pay for everything in money. Some things that you like absolutely have to, but you can trade because you have areas of brilliance and products and services that can be for someone else. So you could trade services, you could trade marketing and leads and things like that. You can ask somebody, are you willing to be on my virtual board of directors? This is what it means. This is what I'm looking for. And how can I help you back? A lot of people will help you if you just ask. And if they say no, that I don't have the time or I'm not interested or whatever, wonderful, thank you. I appreciate you considering the offer. Next.
So you mentioned about the virtual board of directors quite a bit in other conversation we had. Can you tell people what would be the typical, because everybody have different strengths and weakness, right? But that would be something more like you would consider quite standard, or normally people need to think about in terms of looking for potential virtual board of directors, people to surround yourself with, or, make those offers. What are the typical ones that we should start thinking about?
So typically a good virtual board of directors is 6 to 8 people, including you. You don't want it much bigger and you can't have it much smaller. And you want to be very much taking a look at, number one, like you said, what are your strengths? And then where are your weaknesses? Because you want people on your board of directors that are strong when you are weak. Most people, when they're going to their advisors and stuff, they want to be around people that think, look, and act like them. And then they wonder why nothing changes or gets any better and they just crash faster. You have to have differing opinions and strengths like that. You need to have a couple of idea people. That may be you or it may not be you. You need a couple people that are good at figuring out systems and the how-tos and things like that. It is absolutely vital that you have one person on your board of directors that is your naysayer, your Eeyore, your turtle. They're the ones that are really good at seeing the problems. They're typically not invited to business meetings because people say, you rain on my parade and all of this stuff. No. They're the breaks. You bring them in after the fact, going, okay, the idea people and your systems people have come up with this wonderful plan, marketing or whatever in the world it is. And then you bring in your naysayer and say, shred it. What are we not seeing? Where are the problems? Where's all this stuff? And they point out the things. You didn't think about this, or this could be a problem. Perfect example of a profession that's a turtle or a naysayer, lawyers. Their job is to see the problems, to see the holes in your plan. And then, because they've pointed it out, and sometimes they can help with also because I can see this going wrong, this going wrong, and this going wrong, this is how you prevent it, minimize it, or deal with it when it comes up. You don't have those people, you don't have a plan, you have a wish.
Very important.
And then people that are actually used to the hands-on and different things like that. And if you can have a broad base of age, because we also typically spend all of our time with people that are close to us in demographics. Well, I'm close to 50. I want to have some like young 20s, and I want to have somebody who's like 65 in my board of directors, so that I am seeing things from different angles. Everybody brings strengths, because if everybody looks, thinks, and acts like you, what was the point?
That's true. So very good. So we've got naysayer, system, practical person, I guess, and an idea person, and yourself. So, and you, I mean, I thought this is kind of like, I guess when people start the business, they will start figuring out what people they need to pull in for that. Now, my question is actually with naysayer, actually my husband is often that person.
Mine too.
But like, no, that's actually why I want to ask you, like, is that okay to bring in family or close friend to be part of this? Or you
depends.
For you, it's not a good idea?
No, it depends on what is the situation. Are they supportive? And do they have the skill set? My husband is absolutely wonderful. He looks after a lot of my technical stuff and things like that, but he's not an entrepreneur. It is not his skill set in any way, shape, or form. And trying to bring him in just stresses him out. Where I've worked with other, like I actually have 2 sets of clients, and they are absolutely amazing partnerships. And how it is in both sides, it's a man and his sister-in-law. And on both sides, the guy is very much the idea person. He's really good at marketing. He can talk to anybody. He's the visionary and stuff like this. And the business is very successful because he's able to sell it. And then the sister-in-law is in the back. Okay, now how do I actually deliver on all of this and putting all the systems and stuff together? So family can be good, depends on the situation. Friends can be good, depends on the situation.
That makes total sense. Yeah, my husband is a bit of the naysayer, but often I'm like, and then you're right, honey. It's quite funny. We definitely need all kind of different type of people in our business and life to enrich the experience. So we change gear a little bit. Like you talk about the habit of Kaizen in one of your other events, Kaizen. Can you tell us a little bit of what is that all about?
Kaizen is my whole philosophy for life and business. It's a Japanese word, roughly translated means constant and never-ending improvement. And it's about focusing on what can you do today and every day to make something slightly better. It's all about your habits. And a lot of people, they're looking for the quantum leaps. And every now and then the quantum leaps happen, but they are so rare. That's why when we hear about them, because they are rare and spectacular. The small steps that you take day in, day out, going to the gym, reading a book, learning something, making a point of, okay, what am I going to be doing to be working on my marketing every single day? What am I going to be doing to be working on creating my next program or my next product every single day? This is the stuff that gets it done. Like the old cliche of a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. We laugh because we've heard it and it doesn't, you know what? That's the fact. It begins with one step and it goes with one after the other, after the other, after the other. If you're not taking those steps, you're never going to get anywhere.
And I love that it's similar to the 1% concept. You know, they say you don't have to think about improving your profit margin 20, 30, 40%. Think about just 1% improving your performance or your profit day in and day out, and then that will comes up with something. And I think that's the thing, like, you know, people may be really scared of taking the first step. And once they make the leap after the first step, that's not it, you know. You have to take a lot more tiny little step continuous. I do think consistency, it trumps like a large effort. You know, the same with exercise. If I have no time, I prefer 10 minutes of yoga a day than 1 hour a week. Yep. It's the same with my business that, you know, I would rather to do something and at least keep me going with momentum and the energy flowing than nothing. And then 100 hours and then 0 for a long time. You know, that's my preference as well.
Yeah, well, it's like the weekend warriors they go out and do they get really, really active on the weekend. They're playing football with their friends and all of this stuff, but during the week they do nothing. Those guys are the biggest risk for the heart attack.
That's true.
Like it's been shown. And if you want to be successful in your marketing, you're better off making a point. Okay, I'm going to post one post on Facebook that's been thought out, one post on Instagram that's been thought out, and I'm going to do this every single day so that people build up that consistency and they see that stuff, rather than spending $10,000 on a launch you do once.
Definitely. And, you know, that also tie into a couple of things I want to ask you. One of the things is that you obviously you're a believer of system and process. So would you give us a tip about, say, growing a small business or studying? What is probably the most important system you think we should have in place? to get
The
started?
the number one thing that I have found, and for myself personally and working with clients for 20 years, planning.
Mm.
Planning. Because if you don't have a plan, doesn't mean that the plan's ever going to properly like 100% work out, but if you don't have an idea what you want, like what are your priorities, what you're going to be working on, what's the point? You're just going to be spending all your time reacting. And I call them like the little metal balls in the pinball machine. Oh, I hit this bumper, I hit this bumper, I hit this bumper, I hit this bumper, I'm in the gutter. Where if you have a plan, and this is, like I said, I plan annually, I plan quarterly, and every Sunday night or Monday morning at the latest, I actually go through and I plan out my week, and I take a look, I pull up my Google Calendar, and I'm going, okay, what do I have in there for appointments and stuff? What are the other priorities I have? Like when my daughter was much younger, because I've got teenagers now, I know like when she'd have PD days and stuff, so that I know she's not in school, so I have to work around that. But I'm going, okay, what do I have to be doing to be working on this class that I'm launching at this time? And I put that into my calendar. And being realistic, especially when you are a parent with smaller children, you can't, because one of the things that people do is they overestimate their time and their energy. So they're going, okay, you know what? I'm going to work on my business 6 hours a day after my job, after the kids are put together. That doesn't happen. Or if you're going, okay, I've got 1 hour where I've got this and it's not going to burn me out. I'm not going to be overly tired, but I can consistently do an hour, for example. What am I going to be doing in that hour? Because if you've got it planned out, okay, I'm working on this, this, and this, and I can go through it, you're actually going to get it done. Where if you're going, okay, yep, what am I going to do? Well, I could do this, or I could do this. You're going to lose most of your time trying to figure out what in the world that you're going to do.
Absolutely true.
Taking that little bit of time to plan has incredible positive effects on your efficiency and your effectiveness.
Yeah. And to add to that, I also plan, like you say, annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly. I mean, it doesn't sound so like when people may go, oh my gosh, spend so much time, but it doesn't have to be like 5 hours each. Sometimes it's just quickly, but it's just getting the focus, as you say. Once you get a 15-minute break, what are you going to do with that 15 minutes? But if you have an idea, if you plan out your week and your day, you know exactly what's the best way to use the 15 minutes. What I want to add on it is that what people sometimes overlook about planning because they're afraid to be, I don't know, like be accountable, responsible. I don't know, like there's many reasons why we stop ourselves from planning. Actually, planning gives yourself a way in terms of reflecting on your, let's just say, energy level, because you plan according to where you are. Like, I mean, we can be wishful thinking, saying we're going to write a book in 20 days. But it's not realistic. But when you actually plan it out, it also gives you opportunity to check in and ask yourself, how am I feeling? Maybe I have some health issues. Maybe I got emotional situation with other people. So this week, I'm not going to do that much. I need to look after my mother or myself, whatever. But that gives you opportunity to reflect and factor that in. That if you don't, you turn around a month later and say, actually, I've done nothing. And then you beat yourself up, which I found is so counterproductive. So when you plan, it doesn't necessarily, it's not a pressure thing. It's actually a check-in.
Yep. And when I'm talking about, like you said, what are your energy levels? Because some people are sick, twisted morning people. Oh, all the power to you. I am not one of you.
Yeah, I'm the 5 a.m. crowd.
We all have our energy flows and things like that. So if you're knowing, like if you're paying attention and you see, okay, what's going on with your energy levels and also time availability. So like when I'm not seeing clients, because I have my client hours typically 1 p.m. to like 9 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that's where I work it. If I don't have clients in the evening, I find that my hours between like 7 and 10 are super productive for me for doing things. because that's my energy flow. Where somebody is a morning person, well, that could be 7 to 9 a.m. for them.
Yeah, that's me.
So you learn that stuff. And also, like, if you've got kids in school, well, this is your window when they're not in your face. So how are you going to be dealing with that?
Yeah, we do plan around the kids a lot. Like, in the weekend, when my son, he's really good sleeper when he's just over 2 hour.
One.
I have a 1 and 4.
Yeah.
So when he sleep for 2 hours, that's like the golden hour where everybody can do their thing and quiet. And it is like that, you plan around honey, and things change as well, like, as they grow older. So I think we cover a lot of ground about planning, about system. Is there anything you would say to people who may be dabbling in on the edge and thinking with this pandemic, how we're going to, is it possible to become like a real business owner and do what I want? Like, what would you say to those people? Or maybe your younger you once again?
Yes, it is absolutely 100% possible if you are willing to do the work. And that's the biggest thing. And are you willing to step up and learn how to do everything over again for the most part? Because moving from an employee world and mindset into a bit, it's night and day difference. Night and day difference. So I've been teaching a small business class for close to 20 years. And I've had everybody from, I have an idea and I'm thinking about it, to I've been successfully in business for 35 years. And I've had a few people at the idea stage after class go, you know what, I'm not cut out for it. I'm not. And I'm going, thank you. I am so glad that you figured this out now, before you've put in a couple of years and your life savings and risked your relationship with your spouse and your kids and all of this stuff, because it's not for everybody if they're not willing to do the work. And it's not, I've come across some employee types, they work hard. It's not whether or not you're willing to work hard, but when you become a business owner, you go from physically working hard to working mentally very, very hard. So,
and once again, that's why when your virtual point director or the having a tribe, it's actually really important, because you can plan and plan and plan, and then there will be things that didn't work out, you may have setback. But when you're on your own, chances are, oh, that's not for me, or oh, I don't know what to do. You just suck it all in. But when you work with people, when there are other people, it makes such a huge difference. I mean, coaches have coachee and they have their own coaches, right? So we kind of need people to bounce idea or keep us honest or keep us responsible, accountable. And that's why I find that's actually another really big piece that, we need people when you start out, or actually not just start, a whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time.
So,
which is why I'm such a big fan of really good, like finding a really good networking group or two, not 50, like 1 or 2, because you only have so much time and energy, but you find the people that are your crowd, the ones that you click with, the ones that encourage you to learn and stretch and grow.
Wonderful. This is a perfect wrap up for this interview. And I think people who are thinking maybe starting a business or growing the business will be excited to learn more about your work. So what's the best way to connect with you?
Well, actually, I have a gift for anybody who is listening. I do. So if you go to ksabusiness.ca/gift, you can download my solopreneur self-assessment. So it helps you figure out, okay, where are you strong and where are you weak? So that you can start figuring out, okay, where do I need to be getting the help and different things like that. And that is completely free of charge to anybody who listens to your
And it's
podcast.
a perfect first step as well.
It is a very good, and even if you've been in business for a while.
Absolutely. We always have to do health check. Do you go to doctors like once and that's it? No. Do you go to the gym only once and you look good and bye?
I
No.
wish. Oh man, I wish that would take so much time.
No, it's exactly the same thing, whether it's a spiritual practice, physical exercise practice, or business. You got to just keep on going, and you go for health checks. And so this kind of assessment comes in handy anytime, any stage in your business, every now and then. So thank you so much. And I'm going to put the link and my details on the page with that the specific link, and people obviously can find out more about you on your website. And I just want to say a big thank you for your time and energy today. And I learned a lot, and I cannot wait to do your assessment right now.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you so much for today.
Well, it was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on.